Hello, everyone. My name is Yibo Fu, and I'm a second-year PhD student from Georgia Tech. This work is done mostly at CMU. It's called Designing Drop-to-Deploy Mechanism with Bistable Scissor Structure. And those are my co-authors. So what does it mean for drop-to-deploy? So I have a structure here, and when I drop it, it deploys. So that's drop to deploy. So there's in the field of shape-changing material structures and materials, there's a particular interest in something that grows like gyfoam. Just talk about now something that expands, something that can enlarge itself, because we always need something to be able to transport and store easily in a compact shape, and then when we need it, it can expand. So in this case, those things are called deployable structures. And in particular, because this is a huge field, we're focusing on triggering mechanism of the deployable structures. There are many ways to deploy things. For example, you can use your hand. You can also use a hydraulic or electric motors to expand it. Also, you can use pneumatic pumps to inflate them. Recently, also, smart materials become more interesting. For example, SMA, chip memory alloy, can be used to deploy things. Also, chemical reactions can be used, as well as hygromorphic phenomena can be used. In this case, this is a wood. So in this case, we find that there are many, we find that those things would either require a lot of energy. For example, you need to inflate it, or you need to use a DC motor to use high voltage to trigger large mechanism, large structures. Or you would take a lot of time, like minutes. In this case, XL takes 4 minutes to expand. Also, SMA take a few seconds, 5-10 seconds to expand, depending on the structure side. But here, DropPop finds an interesting point where it only takes 0.3 to 0.7 seconds to deploy, and it takes only 0.02 to 0.14 joule to expand, to trigger. Also, we got a decent scale of up to 1.2 meter diameter for the sphere. So how does this work? It's very simple. Starting with the toy, we all know the simple bistable cap is a toy, and when you drop it, it actually jumps much higher than where you drop it, which is not what physics lesson tells us, because there's a lot of elastic energy stored in this bistable material, this rubber material, and those energy were released to jump higher. And in this case, I was thinking of, can we turn that potential energy, jumping energy, into shape-changing energy? And can we add, for example, scissor structures onto this, so that now it doesn't jump, but it transforms the energy into shape-changing energy. And we can add more scissors. And those are 0.1 time playing. We can add more and more scissors. And in this case, those are 0.1 times playing, but in real time, it feels like this. Oh, sorry. It breaks. But it takes only 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds to deploy. Yeah, so there's another bonus advantage for this structure, which is since scissor structures are 1 degree of freedom, and we are adding a bistable cap to constrain the 1 degree of freedom into only 2 states, compressed and expanded states, it becomes bistable for the entire structure. So we don't need a latch, umbrella, or we don't need a seal for the inflatable structures to attach to keep the structure inflated or expanded. Basically, the cap itself locks it. And here's a bigger Hoberman sphere we made, and we can make because scissor structure in theory you can make arbitrary shapes. So we're sort of expanding this into many different shapes. In fact, we made six shape primitives. We can't make infinite, but we're able to make 6. And again, this is how it works from a bistable cap to adding basic scissors unit into a whole bunch of units. And we can attach the scissor in 2 different directions for the cap so that you can do horizontal expansion and vertical expansion. So now let's talk about bistable cap. Don't worry about the mass. It's very simple because we're constraining it into a hemisphere. Everything is just numbers, and the only thing we care is R to H ratio. So basically, radius to thickness ratio, which means the slenderness. So designing the bistable cap is really important because in this case, if we are making it really thin, you can see the 2 values, those are the energy landscape. So you can see the 2 values are really similar so that we don't get energy from triggering it. They just don't have energy stored or released. And as we increase the slenderness, you're gonna see in the middle, the blue one, you just need a little bit of energy to trigger it. And of course, you can't increase it into infinite slenderness. As you make it bigger and bigger, it becomes monostable, which means it only has one valley in the energy landscape. So in this case, we really need sort of a thick bistable cap. But what's the slenderness, the radius, the thickness to radius thickness ratio is sort of at this yellow highlighted line, and that's 0.23. So we really constrained the slenderness to this and scaled it up uniformly, and here's how we made it using injection mold, using mold and casting. Basically, we make same slenderness but different sizes of 2 different materials. And next, let's talk about design tool. We made a parametric simulation tool so that we can allow users to design those scissor structures and generate the bistable caps for those structures. So basically, those are this is for a Hoberman sphere, this is for a grid, and this is for a tetrahedron shape. Again, those are the 6 primitives in the design tool that you can simulate and see how it expands. Basically, it's a 3-step for users. You choose the primitive, and then you adjust the beam numbers, beam lengths, and then into beam level adjustment, because you need to 3D print or laser cut them. You need to choose the thickness, the height, the length. And then we run physics quasi-static physics simulation to compare the energy between the cap and the scissor structure. So what it means is this is the quasi-static model, really simple. So basically, we just have the compressed state potential energy of all beams, and then also the expanded state of all beams potential energy, and do a subtraction to get how much energy we need to expand this scissor structure. So that's what we did in the design tool. So basically, it's 2 things, bistable cap and the scissors. And we need the bistable caps releasing energy to be bigger than the linkages required deploying energy so that it can be expanded. So we already done this for the quasi-static simulation. We need to know the caps energy. So we run a tensor test on the instrument machine to get the triggering energy and the releasing energy. As you can see, it's a lot of different magnitudes between the triggering energy and the releasing energy, meaning that you really need a little bit of amount of energy to trigger it, and it will release a lot of energy, up to 12 joules. and some demos to show that you can transport or store it easily, and it become bigger. We made a traffic cone and a lamp to showcase. We also showed in a drone, in a passive gripper, where the thing that you grab itself is the energy source. Basically, the gravity of the thing triggers the gripper to grab it. And yeah, it should go away. Go away. Okay. And what I didn't mention between monostable and bistable energy landscape is that there's a thin line in the energy landscape where it becomes pseudo-bistable, meaning that you store the energy and it will pops up itself. In this case, it's a happy birthday gift as a surprise. And we also imagine it can be expanded much larger. In this case, maybe ground transportation is limited, and you can just drop it, and using a drone or a helicopter, so that the potential energy from the drone or the helicopter becomes the deploying energy, and you don't need manual assembly or anything. You just drop it, and it will expand to the 10 size. So we actually made the ship to be as large as 1.2 meter. But that's the maximum. We find that after 2 drops, either the cap tiered or the linkages. We use nylon in this case. It's already very strong, but the nylon would still fracture. Again, I want to thank all my co-authors. Without their help, this work would not be possible. And I'd like to take any questions you have. Thanks.
All right.
Hi, I love the inspiration from the child's toy, the ball.
Thank you.
I assume you were inspired by the other child's toy, which is the expandable sphere.
Yes, the whole board.
Okay.
Yes.
One thing I wonder about is what can you do to make sure you can control the orientation after expansion? So, for example, the one you were showing at the beginning, it'll just fall over and get to some. But is there anything you could do to make sure that it has a particular orientation once expanded?
I'm not sure if I understand your question, but when I drop it, the cap has to be perpendicular to the ground.
Right, and then it expands.
Yes.
And for some of your examples, it really was kind of chaotic what final state it would land on.
Yes.
So do you have any ideas about how you might control what the final orientation would be?
I see. You're talking about anchoring it
into
something. Yeah. We actually also explored drilling into the ground and then expand. So that could be attached to this structure, and so that it can drill into the soil or sand and then anchor into it. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you for the great talk. I like the work. And then I was wondering is it possible to combine those 6, I think it was six
yes.
basic
yes.
structure to make something big. So this expands first, and then this actually triggers the cap here, which is attached to the first module, and then
interesting.
expand,
like a domino effect. Yeah, that's actually what we were. I'm working with Professor Bulle at Georgia Tech right now on making multiple caps and multiple structures, and then when they glue together, we can use Volcoy to just attach them together. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's a very interesting way to actually expand it into a larger structure, because currently we're really constrained by the fabrication process, the methods to enlarge it.
All right. Let's thanks for presenters again.